Today I want to talk about the subject of life after death and what it means in the physical, but also within the mind, and what does it mean to you?
Well, to me, it has rather a philosophical meaning here. We can apply it to so many different angles, right? Like losing your loved ones, or even losing your life and coming back. Or we can talk about many ego death that we go through in the process of our evolution as human beings, as individuals. That's something that I can relate to personally. Life after death, to me, I went through so many personal deaths in order to come to this point today, to be here in this place. The person I was 10 years ago that started the journey, the personal journey that I did, wouldn't be sitting here today. That's what it is for me. What is it for you?
Well, first, I just when you say ego death, what do you mean by ego death?
Oh, that's such a complicated topic. How do I answer this? By ego death, I mean the conditioning that each of us receives throughout our childhood. It's like all that water that shapes the stone. And that is usually a frame, like we spoke in the last episode, the model of life that we receive from somebody else. We learn that this is how it's supposed to be. You have to finish school, and these are the steps you take, and that's how you're supposed to be. You're not supposed to be angry. You're not supposed to be this. You're not supposed to be that. That's how you're supposed to be, like in the world, right? And then, so that person that you work so long on building for the others to like, that is dying off layer by layer by layer by layer the more you step toward or go toward the model life that you actually want to create for yourself, that fits you best, right?
Yeah, I think that's what that leads me to. I feel like I've had so many deaths in my life, so many every decade probably, and I'm not talking just in the physical. I mean, I've lost grandparents, friends, relatives, things like that, which, when that happens, it gives you a kind of sense of like fear of, oh my god, like, someone's dying. Did I get enough time with that person? Did I behave the right way? Was the relationship good? And things like that. But I think what when I look at life after death, I'm kind of thinking more along the lines of, when one part of me dies, usually in a journey, in a decade, even as a child, and I become a teenager and change my outlook on life, and you go from being a teenager to then going to work and having to still find a new life and find a new way of doing things and experiment with things and grow as yourself. But I feel like myself that I probably spent a long time of my life, right up until my 30s, where I was not really living ever. Always just doing life as is, the model life as we're told to be. Big change happened for me when I effectively had a heart attack and effectively died, and changed my complete outlook on everything.
How?
Well, first of all, stop me being afraid of actual death. Stop thinking about what comes next, and start to just live and live for this moment right now, and not think so much about the future, because the future is it's always the future. It's never right now where you're living this moment. So it meant that like with my job, I went for a meeting. I'd been working in a company for 4 years and everything was fine, theoretically. Should be good income, stable. Hey, you can just do this for the rest of my life. Good retirement plan, family, all those sort of things. It was all there. But I went for a meeting with my new boss that had just been installed, and he, in that meeting, was kind of like, right, tear up everything that we've just done for the past 4 years and do effectively the same thing again. And I realised I wasn't happy with that, because I wasn't happy with the job that I was doing, and why would I continue? So I went back to my desk, and the first thing I did when I sat at the computer was handed my notice in, and I left. And started living a little bit more. Not truly, not enough, but it was a step in the right direction to actually start doing.
What do you put in that phrase? I started living.
Stopped being afraid of the future, of what might be if I get it wrong. I still lived very much in the past at this moment. I still very much looked at, what have I done wrong in my life, with my relationships, with everything like that. And so I don't think I truly healed and moved on, but at least that was like a new, and I'm 38, I think. It's a new way of just trying to experience life. And then fast forward a few years, and I still wasn't happy, and I was not living, and not being myself, quite just following what people kept telling me to do, and it led me into depression. Very, very, it's strange because I knew many people, a few people that had taken their lives as adults, guys that had taken their lives and left families behind. And I always used to look at it and think that it was a selfish act to want to actually kill yourself, because all you do is leave devastation. But I had an overwhelming feeling, which I don't know where it came from, that just I was never in that situation where I wanted to kill myself. I was never suicidal in that term of what people think is suicidal. But I felt drawn to it, like I should do it for some reason. And it wasn't until I was actually stood on a balcony, on the railings of a balcony on the 32nd floor, that I had this realization of, what the hell am I doing? Why? Because I saw a podcast about a guy that had been in a similar situation, and he said, what's the use in taking your life? Because we don't need anything, and rather than just take your life, just disappear. Just go somewhere in the world and start a new life, and start from nothing.
Interesting.
Because killing yourself leaves nothing and leaves just misery for everybody else. So if you're going to leave
Probably
misery
problems for other people too.
well, lots of problems for sure, lots and lots of problems. So it was at that moment where I truly became freer of the constraints of my past that I was putting on myself. And maybe I'm not perfect at the moment, but I do tend to live for this moment right now. If I want to go away tomorrow, I go away tomorrow. If I want to start a business, I start a business. If I want to go to the gym, I go to the gym. I don't put it off. There's no point. If I feel like I want to do it right now, I go and do it. That's my life after death. And there is no tomorrow, really, because try living in tomorrow. You'll never get there. You're never going to get to tomorrow. It's always tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow's going to be today.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So just
and yesterday was today as well.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thanks for sharing. I was just thinking how death is such a taboo topic for most people in our society, isn't it? Because most people are scared and avoid conversations like this, don't know how to behave, what to say when somebody loses someone. I once had my first podcast that I did, and I was interviewing this grief recovery therapist. It's not really a therapy, but it's like a method to help people recover from the unresolved grief that we as human beings, as society, don't know, we're not equipped to process or help others process. So we're conditioned and to actually kind of gaslight people in grief. We use unconsciously we use different methods to do that. When somebody is going through a loss of something, some of us, we might say like, oh, don't worry about it, don't feel bad. Just imagine the children are dying in Africa or something. So somebody's has it worse than you, right? Or we can say, here's another something to try to replace that loss or whatever. So we try to sort of, how do I even say it? We try to brush it off because we are uncomfortable with it in the first place. And this applies to so many levels, actually, because like we started our conversation from, death it can be physical, but there's also all these like spiritual sort of death that we go through, a death of the part of me that no longer serves me, that I must let go, right? A death of my childhood, a death of my teenagehood, a death of my singlehood, a death of my I don't know, a part of your life that is finished. That is the whole version of you that is finished. A death is simply an end, right? It's an end of something. And we are not very well equipped by nature, I think, to deal with endings.
yeah,
Mainly because what I'm remembering now from my yoga teacher training and the philosophy of yoga is that we resist feeling, we resist experiencing the dislikes, something we don't like, that doesn't feel good. Yeah, we only want the good stuff. So we resist the negative feeling, then the negative emotion, the negative situation, anything that makes us feel sad, bad, whatever, in that regard. So death seems to be all about negative.
yeah,
Unless you actually turn around and look it in the face and say, you know what, actually, if I want to grow and where I want to go, this person right here, right now, cannot be that. I must evolve. I must grow. So this has to end. This version of me has to end. And even in the realm of the physical death, I have to think of my grandmother right now. And how my grandparents, they were so in love with each other. They spent their lives together. They had 2 children together, the whole life, you know. And she was always, the way she spoke to him was not to him, about him, around him, was always so loving. She was so in love and loved him so much. So when she lost him, she lost the taste for life. So while she's alive right now, she's not living. She doesn't want to.
Same as my grandfather. He lost his wife. Again, they'd been together for over 55 years, I think it was. They were married. And the moment she died, that was it. A piece of him had gone. And he stopped living. Well, a little bit tried, but kind of stopped living. And then developed cancer. And then the moment he got cancer, he was so relieved. He was great. And he died 2 months later, just because he let himself go and die. But I can't help thinking that it's like the person that went first doesn't want you to suffer, so don't suffer, in a way, you know. And I find it hard because I've you know, I spoke of a girl that worked for me and took her life the other year, and she was 24. And it's really hard because obviously she's left behind parents, which should really, you never expect to live longer than your children. And she left behind a loving boyfriend. And it's sad to see the people that left behind not live. And it's hard to tell them without sounding like I don't care. But it's hard to tell them, get on with it, live your life, because that's what that person would have wanted. They don't want... I think actually the thing when somebody's dying, the thing that goes through their mind most is, didn't spend enough time with these people. So by you not living when that person dies, it's not giving them that right memory, in a way. Because I don't know what, you know, anyone's belief is about a death and things like that, but it doesn't end there. When whatever you are within this body leaves the body, and it's the body that dies, you don't. You're still there. And whether it's you in the memory of your friends and your families and everything like that, you're still there. Yeah, it's interesting. I spoke to somebody literally today about that, and was talking about how the person she knows is 97, 98 years old and just passed away. So obviously had a very fulfilling, long life and everything like that. But what that person's left behind is a legacy of people that know about that person, or teaching from that person, and moving on from that person. So there's a new life after the death of that person as well, that just continues and continues and continues forever. And that's, you know, certainly what I will try and bring to my family and friends from me.
Well, how do you do that?
Live the life you want to live the best way you can.
True.
Just
being the role model of life.
Yeah.
And that makes me think, why is that some people choose or make one sort of conclusion where, like yourself, for instance, you're like, well, you know what, I was never really living. I was living for others and never for myself. Therefore, this life sucks and might as well try to actually do what I want to do. And others just give up. They cannot seem to find the reason, the meaning in living ahead. Is it correct to say? Like living further. Isn't it interesting?
I think probably like the situation I was in, I didn't feel worthy. I felt like my entire life I wasn't doing the best that I could because I felt I should be this person, this perfect man that's got a good job and looking after a family and married and doing everything that society says. So I think what leads a lot of male depression and that is because they're in a similar situation and they feel like there's no escape because they will never live up to that, and they will not, because they're always trying to do it for someone else. I could never succeed in that situation. I would never ever be good enough, because even when I had a successful business, someone was still better. This was still better. Oh, look at them. Everything was always, what are they doing? I want a bigger house. I want 2 cars. I want to live in London. I want to live abroad. It's always I want, I need, and we should have that, which wasn't me, So yeah, it's not until that part of you can die and you can let go of that part of you. With me, it was the physical. I had that first, which really gave me that moment when I
wake up call.
Yeah, it was crazy. Like 38 years old, and
it's very
I
young.
was. I mean, people are younger when they have the same condition, but I remember being in the hospital, and I was like, I just passed out. I was thinking, I'm just dizzy. I don't know what's wrong and whatever else. So they strapped me ECG everywhere. And I'm like, yeah, this is normal. No worries, And then the nurse comes in and he goes, yeah, okay, so you've had a heart attack. And I'm like, no, whatever. Thought he was joking, but then everything went crazy. And it was a shock to the system, because I kind of I thought before that, I always thought, hey, when I'm 60, 70, whatever else, and I've seen my father's had heart attacks in his late 50s and 60s. My grandma's had heart attacks, and my granddad died of cancer, and things like that. So it's always something there that you think in the future, and you're afraid of death's going to get you at some point. So I thought I would be scared after that. I thought that I'd be like, oh my God, now I need to take it easy. No. I've spent years before that doing various different things, trying to be what everyone tells you should do. Didn't make a difference to me personally. So, yes, I still look at what's healthy. I like to swim, I like to do sports, I like to do all the things that keep my body fit, because I want to prolong my life a bit longer. There's still things I want to do, still travel I want to do, and stuff like that, and I want to be around for my children and things. but I have a bit more freedom with it, because I also know that what is the worst that's going to happen? Really, what's the worst that's going to happen? What are we so afraid of? There's nothing. I'm not, the physical death. Why does that scare us? Why does that scare people? Because if you're scared of it, you're always going to live in that fear, and you're always going to be worried that there's not enough time to do this. But there is. Just do it. Why are you waiting for stuff? Don't wait for the business to start. Just make it start. Don't wait to tell someone you love them. Just tell them you love them. I don't get why most people go around their lives like so afraid of this. So afraid of, like I used to be, afraid of rejection, for sure. And that made me latch on to anybody that gave me love. But yeah, I saw much more clearer after the moment where I almost fell off the balcony. That's the moment I really felt clearer on everything. And stopped caring so much about what people think about me. I used to be really afraid of my body being naked because I was like, oh my God, how people would judge me. No. I'm not going to take my clothes off for the camera because there's children watching, but I'm not afraid of it anymore. And I used to be. I mean, part of it comes down to a girl that I was seeing at the time, and she really put me in my own comfort zone. She made me do things that I would never have done before in terms of, just go up and speak to people and stuff like that. I am very introvert as a person. It does have to force myself to do that. I can't stand being in front of the camera. But yeah,
look at you now.
I just have to sit there and just go to myself, who cares? Really? The only person that cares how someone looks at you is yourself. No?
But yeah.
So you tend to, you tell me, you just meet in your life the people that you project from yourself. No?
Well, the funny thing is that we don't realize that we live our entire life in our heads, in our minds. And everything we ever experience with anyone or anywhere in any situation is ourselves. Our own reactions and to our own perceptions of everything. We never ever and could never ever experience something or someone else. It's always ourselves we experience. And so, who was it? Johnny Cash? No. Whose song was it? It all goes down in your mind.
Oh wow.
Was it Johnny Cash?
I don't know, maybe.
But there's a song. There's literally a song that it's all in the mind.
Yeah.
That's what Dr. Gabo teaches too. That everything's in you, and when you really think about it, you realize all your limitations are in your mind. Is everything, every excuse that you make up to not to do something.
Yeah.
It's all in your mind.
Actually, it's the same as Bob Dylan in Blowing in the Wind. It's the same. That song is about in your mind. That you're just trying to grab something from the wind that doesn't. It's not there. It's here.
Yeah, and so in that sense, death is kind of a liberating teacher. No. Think about it. If your dream, let's say, is to be, I don't know, to win a marathon, the part of you that's lazy to exercise must go, right?
Yeah.
The part of you that's like, oh, no, what I have a pain here, and no, I'm too busy, or like all the part of you that. And then if you think about it, in the first place, why you're making those excuses? Because you don't truly believe that you can have that, maybe in the first place. You're worthy of your dream of winning a marathon. You don't believe it.
Yeah.
So then you would make up all these excuses and not exercise. Well, then you're never going to get it.
This guy you introduced me to, David Coggins.
David!
He's a wonderful hero who, was it, 250-mile marathon.
Oh my God. Miles,
Like,
I don't understand
miles.
miles. What's miles?
Miles
it's
is
more than a kilometer, right?
1.45 kilometers to a mile.
Okay,
So
wow.
yes,
That's a lot.
It's a lot. In kilometers, that's going to be what? 380 or something like that. Yeah, 400, 380, something, I don't know. But that is and his body, in theory, and doctors would say, can't do that. His mind does it. And that's, he killed off, and he talks about it, that
All the time.
he was always the guy that was abused by other kids at school. He was bullied a lot. I was bullied at school. I was little. I was given steroids as a kid to make me bigger. So I went through probably a similar kind of thing to him when I was a child, and was picked on and bullied, and I was the in-betweener kid. But I've always been focused. Even I let myself and my life be shaped by other people because of society and the way we've spoken about. I've always focused on a goal, and I've always achieved my goal. And like what David says, that's the mindset. If your mind's telling you can't do it, you won't do it. You just won't. If your mind is like, oh, the gym, it's hard work, that's it, game over, you stop. Another great hero of mine, Arnold Schwarzenegger, it's the same. It's the same. It's the focus on, both those guys are very well built, and they're focused on their body and everything like that for their mindset. But their minds are set in what they want and how they're going to get it. And how they do that is, Arnold says, get rid of the naysayers. Get rid of the people and yourselves that tell you that you can't do it. You can't climb Everest.
You are one of those people. You yourself are one of those people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you just have to do it.
Yeah.
And live life after death. That's the point of it.
I think one other thing that's maybe makes it so difficult, I think most of us, that's what I think most of us are scared shitless to actually really live. The other day, I think you told me, I've never met anyone who's actually scared to succeed. Well, that's part of it. That's part of it.
Yeah.
That's scared. Being scared of success is being scared of the unknown, is being scared of living in a way. And I think many of us do not realize it. It takes courage. It takes death. It takes endings. It's a metamorphosis. The whole life is a metamorphosis. The butterfly is just showing us how it's done.
Yeah.
But we're going through the same process. Start out as a caterpillar. Get in the cocoon around our 30s usually. Where all kinds of initiation stuff happens. For you, it was physical issues. For me, it was financial issues and relationships that locked me into the point of my existence where I was had no way but to look back at myself and evaluate, and see what's happening and decide that, no, I understand why this is happening, and this is not what I want anymore, right? Many, many different deaths. But that's what's happening in the cocoon. The caterpillar never comes out of the cocoon. A butterfly does. The caterpillar dies. And so we like to look at the beautiful little butterflies and say, wow, I want to be like them, you know. But we don't like to see that the caterpillar never came out of the cocoon. It's a whole new creature. That's why I like the butterfly story so much.
It's good.
Teaches me a lot.
Because I'm thinking about, like, if you imagine the caterpillar goes through its early life, probably has its doubts and thinks it's not succeeding.
Yeah, but it's also very limited in what it can do, can
Yeah.
it? It's just crawling, probably chewing, and that's it. Pooping, excuse
Yeah.
me. And that's probably about it, what it can do. Then it gets into cocoon and comes out as a butterfly.
Yeah.
Or a dragonfly, they also go through a metamorphosis. And now they can fly and move fast and pollinate and whatever else. Jesus.
Some people living their lives on motorbikes.
Yeah.
Wow.
But
I want to go. It sparked actually something when you were talking about that and the fear of success. In some way, you think people that are struggling with relationships have a fear that the relationship will actually be working, and so they, in some way, what's the word? They sabotage the relationships. I'm thinking about a friend of mine that seems to be struggling dating all the time, because every time she goes out on a date, she's like, he's not this, he's not this, he's not this, straight away before. And actually, he seems really nice, but it feels like she just doesn't. I don't know whether it's a fear of the relationship or a fear of getting into a relationship and then failing and breaking up.
You're going in a totally other direction right now. This is relationship topic.
I know, which we'll come to on another episode. I'm dropping a seed. But what I'm talking about is, in relationships, people are scared, like I was in my marriage, scared to end it, to create death in the relationship, because it would, and it did, end friendships with people, trust with people, broke up families, all of these things that it does do. And it's hard because you take that guilt and you can't let go of that guilt very, very easily at all, because you know, in a partnership, in a marriage, in a relationship, and anything, and even just girlfriend and boyfriend, you go out with each other for years, you build a circle of friends, then you break up, then there's that awkwardness. It's great in the series Friends, where Ross and Rachel break up and all the friends don't know what to do, but that is death. That's a death as well, the death of a relationship. And I think that this is my point. What I'm coming to is people are so scared of death, physical, mental, relationship death, jobs. People are scared to leave a job because it's the end, that they don't live. They don't move forward. They don't meet new people. They don't get a new job. They don't try new food even, They don't travel to another country just because they're scared and worried about what might be.
Yeah. Again, that's due to conditioning. Most of that fear is not, well, actually, probably all of that fear is not there. They learned it. We learn it. Coming back to the water, shaping the stone. The little baby, the new soul that comes into this world is a little stone. And then everyone around it, its family, with the doctors, the school, the friends, it's all shaping you. So all their thoughts, all their stereotypes, all their actually a lot of it comes from your family, because that's where the conditioning is the strongest, right? They teach you. If they taught you, if your mother or father taught you when you were little that the moon is green, that's what you would believe, because you don't know what's green, what's moon, right? You would learn that the moon is green. That's what you would believe. And that's how it's happening. We come in, like in that documentary, where this open, I like to say the CD, right? It's virgin. There's no data on it. And so when the child comes in, it's like this virgin CD. You put it in or a DVD. You put it in the DVD ROM burner.
Player.
No, not player. We get to record burner.
Yeah.
And it starts recording all the data. And then you listen to your mother, your father, your grandmother, your grandfather, whoever else is around you, and they say, this is how it is, don't be this, do this, that. You learn all that. You have no other information available or any way available to, well, actually you do. But it's kind of like you do, but you don't. It's what we touched on in the last episode as well. That when you're presented with a choice to keep your relationships as a child or to stay yourself, true to yourself, you don't have a choice as a child. So that's how we learn the limitations and start living in the box. But to your point, you were asking me about the relationships and fear of success. That's not a fear of success. That's fear of intimacy, what you're talking about. And that's something we're going to talk about in the relationship episode, but not this one.
What about...
I want to touch on, actually, so how? We talk what? Let's talk how. Let's talk how. What did you do? How did you turn it around?
Well, as I said, the first shock didn't do enough to make me turn it around. So it's hard. I mean, as you get older, you become more conditioned, and breaking out of that, I had a fear. I still felt worthless in a lot of things that I did in life. So how did I break out? Really, it didn't happen until I was faced with it's gonna be really personal. I was faced with a situation whereby everything was falling down. I was losing most of my clients, or probably thought all of my clients in my business, because something that had happened due to somebody else. And I was faced with two options, really. We always say there's no choice. These were two options. Option one would be to fight for everything that I'd had over the past years, everything I'd built in terms of business, and fight with somebody for years probably, and would have cost thousands of pounds. And I looked at it and I thought to myself, it happened instantly. I woke up and I thought, what am I actually going to be fighting for? Because the stress was unbearable for me. The feeling of I've ruined everything, and what am I going to to try and fight for this money, to try and fight for the relationship, try and fight for seeing my children, all of these things, access, everything. I would have to fight for it. And it would inevitably just cause suffering for me, for everyone in that situation, because it would just drag it out and out and out. It was a material thing, really. And I just thought, literally, I woke up and I thought, you know what, forget it. And so I penned a note to say, you know what, have everything. And that's it. Go. Take everything. Whatever you want, take it. And I actually started, that changed my life. Just, I now am in a situation where I think this was partly, I spent time in Saudi Arabia and I saw how people are so giving there. And I saw how they'll just literally give you their last £1 if they have it, one SAR. And I actually thought how relieving that is to let go of that material stuff. Because when you die, you don't have it. You're not going to take it with you. And so my journey was there, just instantly was like, you know what? You take that. You're out of my life. Not bringing me down anymore. There's nothing more you can ask for because you haven't got anything else to give you. And that's when you start really, really living. When you don't really, if someone wants my shirt and they need my shirt, if they feel they need my shirt, have my shirt. That's how I can start living. That's how I felt I could just be and just enjoy each moment as it comes, when it happens. I get up look, I get depressed. Some mornings I wake up and I'm not myself. I'm not there perfectly yet. Doesn't take me long to just remember what it's like to just go in that spiraling circle down towards death. Look towards death. You can easily do it, and I can slip back into it. And that's when I remember to myself, actually, why? So I try and live every day like I want it to happen. And just do. Day in, day out. How it's meant to be.
Made me think of the Eat, Pray, Love movie. Did you see?
Yeah.
There was this quote. Where was she? Bali? Was it in the Bali she was? There was a quote that sounded something. I'm gonna screw it up, but it's
your memory's so good. You know that.
It sounded something like, "It is on the ruins of your old life, and the ruins,
Yeah.
right? The ruin that you can build, whatever new you want."
Yeah.
So again, that's very liberating when you do, you know what, I let go. When you do let go and now you're left with all this empty space. Okay, what am I going to build here now? What am I, me, what do I want to build here now? I have all this free land now, right? And you start building.
Right. I mean, look, you come into the world with nothing. Really. Love from your family that should be there, but in relative terms, you come in with nothing and you leave with nothing, but maybe love. So that's all you kind of need. But that love's in here, as you keep telling me. It's from inside you.
You remember?
I'm spitting your words. But that's the same as the film. It's what they mean. It's Armageddon. Like, the world ends, life continues. Armageddon for us is the majority of the people dying in the world, but life would still continue. It will find a way to continue. And that's all you need to do as well. It's just find a way to be the person you want to be and continue and live. Just let go of your death, your past, your destruction. Just easier said than done.
Just let go, yeah.
But
just let go.
But when you do it, when you actually do it, that day that I sent that email to a solicitor and said, if we sign all this, there's everything. I don't need any of it. that moment I hit that send and the email came back saying, yep, okay, they grabbed onto that. It was relief. I was free, you know, and that, nothing compares to that feeling. So I'd urge anybody to try it. Just try it, because you will not be disappointed when you let go of something. You just won't. It's such a nice feeling. It's hard. It's like letting go of somebody that has died as well. But don't let go of them as terms of, in your memory, how the times you had, the beautiful times you had together, the good times. Don't look at the bad times all the time. If you let go of the physical, they're not here in the physical, but they're still here. You know?
Oh, they're still here on so many levels, actually. If we just open up to seeing, to understanding how nobody truly lives fully. Like, for instance, well, maybe not in the case with children, but starting with science. The energy cannot be created or destroyed, so it just goes from one form to another. They maybe disappear on the physical level like this, but they continue on in some other way, in some other form, elsewhere, somewhere. Or if you think about your, for instance, partners, we watched Bridget Jones yesterday, or even your parents, they continue on in your genes. They are in. Sometimes I look at my hands and I see my mother's hands. That's how she's still with me. Or I look at her picture and I see my face. That's how she's still with me, you know. So it's really a perception shift, isn't it? Or a mindset shift, isn't it? From looking into pain to start, or the negative, so to speak, the loss itself, the pain that you feel, which is necessary. Without processing and feeling that pain, you cannot simply just move on to the joy of moving on and living your life without them, right? But then do that. But then at some point, if you feel like, because I was thinking when you mentioned and when I mentioned that my grandmother does not want to continue on without my grandfather, and what do you do in this case? Well, you love them and you honor them where they are.
Yeah.
They don't want to live, that's how it is. You love them exactly where they are. That's about love, really. For them, it's about love too. That's their decision. And so you may want to try to change their mind, but in the end of the day, if they don't want to, you love them as they are. And I think we've said so much today, and I'm trying to think, what's the conclusion of our conversation today?
I feel it's accept things the way they are, and if they don't make you happy, move on from it. So you can't change people and you can't change circumstances that happen, because inevitably, as you tell me, we don't have choice. It's going to happen no matter what.
Oh, that's an unpopular opinion.
Well, my life has proved it's going to happen no matter what I do. And so what I mean by it is you can't necessarily change what you're in and the life that you're going to have, but you can do the steps to fulfill it the way you want to fulfill it and live rather than focus on death. That's...
And then what I guess I would add to that is the butterfly story. Life, I mean, all the scientists teach us that this Earth, since the Big Bang, it's been evolving and it's not gonna stop. While you're here, before you were here, and after you're gone, it's not gonna stop. This is the evolution process that the Earth, the planet, the cosmos is going through. And death is simply part of it. Redefining death, learning to look at it from a different perspective. It's very helpful to also find freedom to live. And without looking within and understanding what scares us in the first place. What is it? Why is the scare? We cannot move past it. So the butterfly story has been inspiring me for many years now. And I hope that it will inspire many more.
I think a nice ending, though, is that stop looking at it as the end and start to look at it as the beginning of something new.
I think that's what scares people.
Yeah.
Not knowing. The great unknown.
But you're always doing something new. Every day is new. Every day.
It's not always.
So,
it depends how you see it.
yeah,
It's
I'm
what
trying
you
to get
see.
them in the mindset of that.
True, okay.
Like, door closes,
Sorry.
door opens. That's what you need, really, to start to live, is to look at the opportunities, not look so much at the failures.
Yeah.
Like a caterpillar goes in and cocoons itself, not to die, but to start living. It doesn't know that it's going to get eaten as a butterfly by a bird, but it goes there into the unknown. So
It's funny enough, to my unpopular opinion, caterpillar doesn't have choice either.
no, it's going to turn into a butterfly.
It's gonna die.
Yeah.
And the butterfly will come out.
Ella.
Cool. Thanks for the conversation.